Excellent. Let's get started. So welcome, Anshuman, on the Microsoft 365 feature demos. And this time we're going to talk about Viva Connection and multi-dashboard capabilities. Is that the right way of saying that? What is the feature name?
Yeah, it's multiple connections experiences. Good to be here.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Now, Anshuman, can you do a quick intro of who you are and what is the feature of what you just mentioned?
Yeah, so I am Anshuman Gaur. I'm a PM on Viva Connections team, mainly responsible for the setup and deployment of connections. My main goal is to reduce the time to value. And as part of that, we have this customer requirement for a really long time where customers want to set up different connections experiences for their different employee groups. That can be a conglomerate situation or a subsidiary situation, different branding. So we're making that happen now with multiple connections experiences, where within a tenant you can set up multiple connections experiences. So we'll talk about that, about the feature. But yeah, that's been my baby for some time now.
Yeah. That's really cool. Now, you mentioned and explained that briefly already, multiple connection experiences. What would be the typical business scenario? You mentioned a few of them, but let's go through a few of the particular ones. So multiple divisions in the same group, but in the same tenant. Would that be the suitable way of doing this? And any other scenarios?
Yeah, for sure. So our ideal scenario for this is really conglomerates and subsidiaries. That's one scenario where you have different companies within a large brand. Like we see that within Microsoft, like Microsoft and LinkedIn, have their own experiences. So, that would be an example there. The other example is that, you have different set of tasks and workflows and messaging for your frontline workers. And so you would want to set up a separate experience for your frontline workers. That's another scenario. And the third one that we look at is really international subsidiaries. So it's a subsidiary scenario, but it could be because of a language, where you're setting up an experience in a specific language, or for data residency and legal reasons, you want to have separate control for a particular experience. So for all those different reasons, you would be setting up multiple experiences and then giving those people, what we call operators, control for their experience so that they can manage the content and the audience and everything.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but let's come back on that one after the quick demo. And I think you have some slides. So let's jump on your screen. Let's go through the functionalities and probably cover some of the questions which I might have. So better to leave them on the back on the video.
Yeah, for sure. So we did cover a couple of things. I'll quickly skim through the slides. So just to recap, Connections is the home for employee experience across all the endpoints, so desktop, tablet, and mobile. You can get tools, apps, personalized communications, and resources all from a single place as you work within teams. With multiple connections experiences, you get even more flexibility. Here is an example of connections experiences, two connections experiences within the same tenant. So Relay Cloud has a hotel business, and they also have a corporate setup where they want to have this separately. You could also consider hotel being the experience for the frontline workers working in the hotel directly. And so you can see that the cards, the newsfeed, and the branding is a little bit different. So it still carries the brand, but provides the ability to set them up distinctly and target to the right people. We talked about this one at the beginning of our discussion. So these are our ideal scenarios for setting up multiple connections experiences. You could still set up the card level targeting, but I think what this offers you is the ability to basically audience target the whole experience, so you do not have to deal with complex card level targeting, especially in a scenario where you have a set of distinct cards for one subsidiary and another set for another subsidiary. So when it comes to dashboard card targeting, you can actually now target the whole experience and avoid going at the card level and targeting individual cards. Having said that, you still have the ability to target cards in a scenario where you want to have a specific department level cards, but you still have shared experience across people, in different departments.
Now, actually, before we go, can we go back on the previous slide? Just to recap there, that's actually a good point, which I personally didn't even, I read the announcement and everything else, was like, oh, that's actually a really good point. You can use this feature to do role-based dashboards as well.
You can. I mean, we do provide the audience targeting that is based on your security groups as well as the license filter. And I'll show that in the demo. So you can very well use a combination of that. It's quite advanced. So you can use a combination. You can just use the license for frontline worker. You can target a particular experience, or you can do the traditional group level audience targeting.
Cool. Really cool.
Yeah. So. And the other thing that we are going to offer going forward is that you have two ways to set up connections experience. So we know that we have a large set of our customers already using SharePoint Intranet Portal. They want to have the presence of connections experience in Teams, but they also want to have the web experience for their employees. And so the customers who already have the SharePoint Intranet Portal, they can just use their existing Intranet Portal and set up connections experience on top of it. So it basically makes that particular site as a home site and org news site. And then it also sets up the dashboard and the rest of the connections component. So that's the second option, which basically gives them the ability to have the connections experience in Teams, as well as just a home site on the web. We also have customers who do not have the SharePoint intranet yet, or they haven't invested in the SharePoint intranet yet, or they may have a separate intranet technology that they're using, but they want to use connections in Teams. They can set up what we call a standalone connections experience. They do not need to have the home site already set up. They do not need to have any SharePoint setup or sites. They can literally start here. And it's a simple process to set up a standalone experience, and then they can configure that experience in app. And I'll show that today as to how easy it is to basically set up a new standalone experience in few steps and then configure it with dashboard and everything. All right, so the last thing before we go to demo, one experience. So this is a premium feature. So this is our first premium feature within Connections. One experience is included with the M365 ENF licenses. So that's basically the existing offering that we have with multiple connections experiences. If you set up 2 or more experiences, we will require either the Viva Suite or the Communications and Communities license, which is the mini bundle that includes the Viva Connections Premium, Engage Premium, and the new product that has just come up, Amplify. And so this is the second bundle, but you can have either of those and you will get the multiple connections experiences functionality, and the licenses will be required for all the users using Connections. So that's another thing that I want to share here, because I think it's something that we are just launching, and it's our first premium feature. So it's important to call out that it'll be included in the Viva Suite and the Viva Communications and Communities bundle.
Yeah, which is a bit of a newer license. So it's a good license to double check on what is available for sure, that one as well. So
Right.
Pretty cool.
All right, so with that, let's move to demo. So the thing that I also want to mention while we move to demo is that now we have centralized connections administration experience within Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So if you're familiar with Microsoft 365 Admin Center, we have Microsoft Viva Setup under Setup. And that's where you can see all of your Viva apps. Now you can also see connections there. So when you click on connections, it's going to show you all the connections related tasks, create and manage Viva Connections experiences. We're going to get into that. But then you also have the ability to access the Teams Admin Center from here and do Teams admin related tasks like, adding the app or pre-pinning the app and things like that. We're also providing resources here. So resources around, just how to set up connections experiences. There is a whole documentation with, a good set of frequently asked questions there. So I do recommend to check that out. And we also have documentation on connections adoption, third-party extensibility, and everything in terms of resources that we offer for your connections deployment to be successful. Let's go back and let's go to the create and manage connections experiences. When you come here for the first time, if you already have a home site, you will see that home site here. So that's another thing that we are adding now, because you can set up connections experiences with a home site, which is the SharePoint Internet option, or you can set up a standalone connections experience. We are bringing the home site management and connections experience management all at the same place, right? So you will see if you already have a home site, in this case, I have one. It will show that line item as a connections experience, and it will say that it's a home site. I can access all the details from here for this particular connections experience. I can access the audience detail here. It's targeted to everyone. So you can see like it says all the license types and all the audience groups. And then I also can manage the permission. So this is basically who gets to edit the content, right? So we call that an operator a persona. It's generally a site owner role from a SharePoint, terminology that does that particular job. So this is the place where you can all manage your audiences, permissions, and generally a SharePoint tenant admin or a global IT admin can come in here and do that, for a particular experience. So this is when you already have one. Now, let's say you want to create one more experience. You can click on Create New. These are the two options that we talked about earlier. So let's say I want to create a standalone experience this time because I don't have a site ready to go. So I can hit Next. I can give it a name. So let's say okay, it says the site is available. I'm creating this for frontline workers, and creating an experience is really this simple. So it's gonna run this thing, create an experience, and what it does is that it creates a special purpose site behind the scenes so that I can. Is that you can now see that because I created this as a standalone experience, the home site column says no, and then by default it's draft. So there are a couple of things that I still need to do here. One is that I want to make sure that I target this correctly. So I can go to audience, edit audience, and I have a couple of options here. I can do this by group, and this will show me all my M365 groups here. The other thing that I can do is that because I'm targeting this just for the frontline workers, I can simply select this option and then save. And what it does is that it simply targets these to this experience to my frontline workers.
Based on the license assigned to the user.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah. Now, since this is going to be a subset of this, we generally recommend that the one with lower number of audiences is the experience at the top. This is a little bit involved, and we have provided documentation and guidelines on how the rank order works. But given a scenario where same person is targeted to more than one experiences, which is what will happen in this scenario, because my first experience, this one has everyone targeted and all types of licenses, and this one has only the frontline workers targeted. The person who's been targeted to both of them, they always land on the first in the order. So they will always land on the frontline worker experience for the frontline workers when they go to teams. So it's a little bit nuanced, a little bit involved in terms of how the rank ordering works. But do check out the documentation because we have given examples there as to how to make sure that you are ordering them correctly. What are the recommendations around ordering so that the right people see the right experience. Now, this is still in draft. So what does that mean? It means that right now this experience won't be served, and that we do that because we want to make sure that the operators or the people who manage content have the ability to go and configure the content on that particular experience. So I see that under permissions, I have the permission to edit the content. So I can actually now head over to Teams. And I'm going to open this on the web so that I can just show you here.
And the draft means that at this moment of a time, of course, a normal end user would not yet be rerouted in there because it's in a draft status. So
that is correct. That is correct. And we do that for this exact same reason that we want to give the time for the operators to go and set up the content after the experience is created. So if you see, like, this is still landing me on my Contoso brand, the home site based experience, the first one. But as an operator, I have the ability to switch experience. So this switch experience is only available to people who have the edit permissions. And now I can actually go to this experience here, which is in draft state, and it will show me all the out of the box content. Now I can edit. So because I'm editing it for the first time, it also gives me the ability to choose the starter set of cards. So because I'm setting this up for the frontline workers, I can select that. And this takes me to the edit functionality for the dashboard. let's quickly add a card so that we can show, how the experiences are different from each other. So let's say that because this is a frontline experience, I want to add a couple of things here, right? So let's see. So tasks is there, shift is there, approval, those frontline worker cards are there. Let's add a Teams app. And so we can go there, card size medium. Let's say we want to add let's do a simple polls app because we let's say that these users have to use polls to provide their pulse every day, right? So let's say we did that. Now I have that one. Let's also just maybe add a simple web URL card. So I would do web link. I'll go edit, and let's say that this is simply my way to go to the pay stub. So I'm going to make this up. All right, I got that. Gonna keep this all the same for now. All right, let's see. We're good here. I have that. Okay, let me just also edit the description so that it looks nice.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna make this access your slip. That sounds a lot better. All right, so I got that. Let's publish. So now I have this dashboard that is configured. I also have the ability to add resources. In the interest of time, I'm not gonna go and add the resources, but it's as simple as really just going and adding the resources that you want to make available to your frontline workers. So that's also available, and that's the beauty. Like now you have this one full experience that is targeted to your frontline workers. So this looks all good. I can just go back to my previous experience just to make sure that everything is good there. So if I come here, you can see here I have just 3 cards. I have my global nav here because this is the home site based experience. And then if I go to the one that we just set up, now there I have the new cards that we added, and I have the ability to add the resources. So let's say that in this particular scenario, now I'm ready to launch this. I will go back here as again the SharePoint tenant admin or global IT admin. I will open this experience and I will say edit status. Check this box, save. And the moment I do that, now any frontline worker who goes to Teams and who goes to Connections app, they will land on this experience because now we have made this enabled. And then any other person who is not a frontline worker, when they access the app, they're going to go to this other experience that we already had. And that's how we make sure that the right people are landing on the right experience in the multiple connections experiences scenario.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Now, on the administrative side, how many of those dashboards you can actually create?
It's a great question. So we are right now limiting this to 10 total experiences. So one, if you have just the ENF M365 license, up to 10 if you have the Viva suite or the communities and communications and communities license. We are in process of increasing that limit to 50. So that's something that we are targeting to work on this semester. And with that, the experiences limit will increase from 10 to 50.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. And again, just recapping on the individual dashboard level, you can still do also audience targeting in a card level. So there's multiple layers of personalization available. Now, one question what I also had, if you click to create new, and we are basically associating to an existing home site, does this create the home site, or I'm associating to existing one? Can it be any communication site? Any limitations in here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's look at that, right? So when you select that second option, it expects you to already have a communication site set up, right? So you will take that communication site from your list of active sites library from the SharePoint admin center, and then you'll put that URL here. So it takes a communication site. and then it converts that communication site, or it assigns or designates that communication site to be a home site, an org news site, and then it also adds the connections content to it. So think about this also as the new way to set up a home site. So now you can set up multiple home sites. This is how you do it. And you do it along with setting up the connections experiences all at the same place. So even if you go to like the SharePoint Admin Center, under settings, there is the home site setting option. That will now redirect you here to set up your connections experience with the home site.
Cool. And yeah, the setting up of the home site was a bit complicated process previously, so this is actually really good. So making it super easy. Cool. That's actually the basic questions what I had on my side. And again, as we mentioned, having multiple ones, that's part of the licensing model. That's a consideration to do it. But there's a lot of value actually on this one, because again, I'm really kind of I like the idea of having profile or role-based dashboards where you can then assign and design as a whole, rather than just in the individual dashboard in the individual card level, because that can get really complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard customers, of course, getting creative and using the card level capability and testing it to its limit in terms of adding, like, I've heard customers having 70, 80, 90 cards because they did not have the choice earlier to have the cards in the dashboard separated into separate experiences altogether. So when I talk to those customers now, they're actually happy about being able to set them up as separate experiences altogether. And in some cases, these may be managed by different people also. So there is like that separation of responsibility as well as the content separation. So it just makes things a lot simpler to manage.
Cool. Really cool. So that was really cool, Anshuman. So any nice kind of tips on areas where we're investing in the future? We already mentioned that we're looking into investing on having more options as additional dashboards. 50 is actually quite a lot, considering if you think about the audiences and then the order and all of that stuff. Any other areas where we're investing around the Viva Connection?
Yeah, no, so I think 50 is quite a lot, but that's also something that a lot of our large customers are looking for. So we represent a very diverse and large spectrum of customers, and the large side of the customer where they do have those many presence in different countries or different subsidiaries. They are going to be really benefited by that. In addition to that, I think our goal is to still continue reducing the time to value. And so, we have made a lot of progress in this space in last year or so. This is a testament to that. Now it is so easy to set up as opposed to, the 8 or 10 step process that we had earlier for setting up connections. I think we still have some opportunities there. So without getting into too many specifics, the thing that I want to share is that we are hearing your feedback in terms of, how we can make the setup experience and just the setup workflow a lot easier for people who are actually going and setting up the content. So that's an area that's on our radar in terms of further improvements.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, obviously there's going to be extensibility improvements, more cards, all of that thing, branding support, and all of that is evolving as an individual thing. So
you bring
a lot of great.
Yeah. You bring up a good point about branding. So that's. Now we have separate experiences. We are working on some branding and theming updates that will provide ability to have custom colors around the dashboard, resources, just the whole experience, and that can be set up at the experience level. And so, taking that same subsidiary conglomerate, branding scenario even further, you can still set up banner that distinctly represents your organization even today in these connections experiences. Now you can actually do your custom, colors and theme palettes and things like that. So that's another big one that is, that we're working on, and it's coming together.
Yep, absolutely. And one more thing, which we just actually recorded. Well, depending on when you're watching the video, that might sound weird, but again, Viva Connection announcements with Nancy, and that's a thing which we have already announced, which is coming as well. So a lot of investments in Viva Connection, which is awesome to see. But I guess that's it for now. So thank you, Anshuman. Really cool features, and thank you for walking through the admin scenario. It is really simple. It's awesome to see the simplification from that side as well. Thank you for joining. Really awesome chat.
Thank you for having me. It was great.